Beginning of the story, we see a tower with only one way in and one way out, and our protagonist Irina, who lives there, receives a strange present from her brother Valentin, severed monster heads. She freaks out as the white-haired man with red eyes asks if she has any problems with his gifts, and she is too terrified to tell him that she hates and disgusts what he has brought to her room. But she was not always the person she is now. This world she is in is inside a violent, sensuous, and unnecessarily immoral novel with a thrilling romance story that borders on obsession. The male lead of the novel was Alexei Ruslan, the youngest sword master in the Empire and a genius at using magic, and that had damaged his mental condition to the point that he kidnapped the female lead, Kay, and kept her in bad conditions, thinking that it was love. And despite how much she hated his cruel behavior, since they were the protagonists of the novel, Kay soon confirmed Ruslan's love for her, and they united. But that was not when they got their happy ending, as the main villain of the novel, Duke of Sordier, appeared in the story right about then. He planned to become the emperor and rule the world, and for that reason, he tried to get rid of his strongest adversary, Alexei. Then since Duke Sordier had no talent for either swordsmanship or magic, he sought to form a pact with the devil to gain power, even if it required sacrificing his own children. At the end of the story, he did just that and summoned the devil, who proved much weaker against the power of the main character's love. That was the happy ending of the story. And when our protagonist first read it as an ordinary Korean woman, she thought this was a marvelous story. And now, she can only regret being so excited about it since she finds herself in the body of Irina Sordier, the daughter of the villainous Duke Sordier. Because of her father's greed for power, she was soon going to be married to the Grand Duke Alexei against her will, and then she would be killed at the hands of her own brother. Now, our protagonist thinks that if the story progresses like the original, she will have the worst ending, and she does plan to let that happen. But while she is thinking about this, Valentin has been waiting for her response to his gifts. She looks at the monster heads and wonders who the hell in his right mind would try to gift someone monsters, but since saying that would put her life at risk, she says that it was bigger than what she liked. Valentin smiles, asking her to put her hand out in that case, and now Irina is afraid as she wonders what is going to happen now. She reluctantly puts her hands forward, and he drops a small piece of slime in her hand. She is confused initially, but as she learns it was slime, she thinks that of course it has to be a monster. Valentin asks her if she does not like it, and thinking that it was still much better than the previous gifts, she says that she likes it very much since it is so soft and cute. The man gives off a creepy grin as he says that she should play with it if she liked it, and he leaves the room without doing anything else. Now Irina wonders why he couldn't take the other monsters with him, and she decides not to be bothered by it and take care of them tomorrow. She lies on her bed, saying that surviving in another world was hard, but at least she knew about the original story, and she plans to use it to her advantage to get out of the tower and flip off the Duke who captured her here, as she lives happily ever after without him in her life. But as she is thinking that, the slime in her hand wiggles, and now she is curious. She starts flirting with the slime, asking if he liked it when she touched him, and as she is getting lost in her imagination, Irina snaps out of it, angrily shouting that why did she have to possess a side character. She throws a tantrum, knowing that even though Irina in the novel got married to Alexei, their marriage was just a formality, and nothing even happened between them. She thinks that even though she is in an R-rated novel right now, there is no benefit to being here as she will get no action. She kicks and punches her bed, and she unknowingly squeezes the poor slime too hard. But then she regains her senses and thinks that even if she wants the main character really badly, she has to prioritize her survival first. And the first step for that is to get intimate with Alexei as soon as they get married. And the second, and more likely, plan is to get divorced by mutual consent, take the alimony money, and run away to marry a handsome and suitable guy. But she says that it was such a pity, she wanted to kiss the Grand Duke of Ruslan at least once. And as the slime hears her, he is startled and blushes, jumping out of her hand. Irina realizes that he was alive all this time, and as he gets under her bed, she asks him why he was behaving like that. She gets down and calls the slime out, only to notice that his color had changed to pinkish, and then she realizes it must have been because she was talking about kissing earlier. The slime's reactions confirm her theory, and she says that she will not talk like that again, so he should come out. He obeys and comes out, and Irina compliments him as she lifts him up. But then she asks the slime if it had intelligence and if it could understand her, and he jumps up to nod. But before she can communicate more with him, a young maid with red hair knocks on the door, telling her that it is time to eat. She is Bella, the daughter of the head maid, and as she enters the room to find monster heads on the floor along with Irina, she is shocked. The maid tells her to stop procrastinating and come out, and Irina decides to put the slime in her pocket so that he does not run away while she is out. As Bella leads her to the dining room, Irina thinks that the treatment the maids were giving her was even worse than mentioned in the novel. But the worst is yet to come, and as she enters the dining room, she finds that the maids have already eaten, and the head maid Roger tells her that she was late. Irina realizes that they started eating before her and called her late on purpose. The real Irina would be really hurt by this, but she decides not to give them the reaction they want. She silently sits down and picks up the spoon to eat the soup, but the head maid slaps her hand, saying that she was holding the spoon wrong and not learning manners even after being taught so much. And with that, she swipes the bowl of soup away. And as Irina complains that she has not eaten anything yet, the maid scowls at her, saying that she must have forgotten that they had lunch just an hour ago. And now, Irina is furious since she did not eat a single meal today and the maids have the audacity to leave her hungry. As she is sitting there in a foul mood, only Bella is sitting on the table, and she apologizes, saying that if she knew that Irina had eaten lunch, she would not have called her here. She is furious now and really wants to eat something. But if she disobeys the head maid, the consequences will not be good. Irina thinks that she has to hold it in, but the slime is also furious on her behalf, and he suddenly jumps up and lands on Bella's face. And as the terrified Irina watches, he knocks the poor girl out, who does not even have an idea about what happened. He smiles and waves his tiny slime hands at our protagonist, and then jumps on the table, showing off what he just accomplished. But more than the fact that he beat up a maid, Irina is stunned by the eyes and mouth on his face that he previously did not have. And as she looks at those tiny eyes eagerly watching her, she realizes that he wanted a compliment. The slime then does something that she understands as his way of asking her to trust him. And as Irina giggles, she notices that the maid is coming back to her senses. She thinks that at this rate the slime would be discovered and she could not eat anything, so she decides to knock the poor girl out again using a steel plate. When Bella wakes up, she has no recollection of what happened, and Irina tells her that she fell while trying to pick up a plate. She hands her the very plate she used to knock her out cold, and the maid girl believes her. After that, she says that they should get busy with their work, and Irina leaves, having eaten her food without letting anyone know. In her room, she talks with the slime, who is her partner in this perfect crime, saying that it all seemed so ridiculous. She asks him a lot of questions that all merge into one: was he a special slime? And as the slime cheerfully affirms, Irina says that he would be too smart to be a slime if he understood everything she was saying. But then she thanks him, and the slime is giddy as he rolls around in her palms. Irina is happy and says that maybe the books can talk more about the special slime in detail. And since she is under watch, she cannot read much, so she wants the slime to help her with that too. But then she suddenly realizes that she has not eaten much and is still hungry. She is furious at the people who are holding her here and thinks that not feeding her was too much. She stops her ranting to ask the slime if he was hungry too, and she finds that he is not by her side. And as she wonders where he went, Irina smells delicious food and finds that the slime had brought her mushroom soup and tomato pasta with shrimp. She cannot believe it and thinks that the slime was really the best monster in the entire world. The food is really delicious, and after eating it, she snuggles with the slime, asking where someone as wonderful as him came from. But then, the blushing slime jumps down and runs out of the window again, only to bring dessert for Irina, and she is so moved that she says that they are friends forever now. The slime is also sentimental now, and as she relishes the dessert, he crawls to her study table and picks up a fountain pen. Irina is surprised and curious about the slime writing, and then he proudly waits for her attention before he shows her what he has written. She excitedly asks him to show her what he had scribbled, and when the slime hands her the piece of paper, she is stunned to find that he had written "friend" on it. As Irina looks at the slime in disbelief, he is nervous that she may not really accept him as a friend. But contrary to what he thinks, she is really amazed by his ability to read and write, and is thinking that he was her first friend in this world. She picks up the slime, and he hugs her hands as she says that she will be counting on him from now on. But she warns him that this place is dangerous, and he can't stay with her all the time. But the slime is so busy hugging her thumb that he does not care when she warns him about Duke Sortier and his watchful gaze. Then the slime confidently tells her to leave it all to him, and Irina smiles, saying that she will do that but with conditions. But before that, she wants to go on a mission together to see how trustworthy her slime friend is. They go to the library, and Irina is anxious as she tells the slime to stay quiet and hide well. She enters the library, which was much larger and brighter than she expected it to be, but the librarian panics as he sees her. He fumbles around his desk, and Irina realizes that he was reporting her visit to the Duke, and she prepares a story, saying that she went to the library to learn about the Ruslan family. But the real reason she is here is to get information about the slime, and she finds no useful information among books that talk about top-level monsters or monster wars. But she notices one book about the Grand Duchess of Ruslan and curiously takes it up. And after skimming through the pages for a bit, she thinks that it is too boring and keeps it back. She finally finds a monster dictionary that can tell her about the slimes, but it is on a higher shelf that she cannot reach. Irina thinks that she may have to take help from the librarian, but a quick glance tells her that he does not want anything to do with her, so she gives up on asking him. And as she is wondering what to do, the slime volunteers to help. Irina laughs, whispering that he was too small to help her, but then she notices that the slime has gone silent and that there is an eerie presence behind her. And as she turns back, she is horrified to find her brother, who asks her why she was so surprised. Did she do anything wrong? She says that she did nothing bad. She was here just to learn more about the slime he had gifted her. Valentin starts murmuring to himself that unlike him, the slime did not smell like blood, so she must really like it. And then he directly asks Irina if she likes monsters. She refuses, and he asks her why she threw away the jewels he gifted her then. Irina is surprised and says that she got no jewels, and then she learns that Valentin had given them to the maids to deliver the gift to her. She is really irritated now and cannot let this slide, so she asks her brother if he gave the jewelry to the head maid, and when he affirms, she sobs, saying that the maid must have pocketed it. Valentin is furious now, and he says, how dare a maid steal from her master? He is about to go and teach the maids a lesson when Irina stops him, calling him brother. He stops in his tracks and turns back with a menacing glare, asking her what she called him just now. And now, Irina thinks that she got too carried away and would die now. But Valentin asks her to repeat what she said, and she calls him brother again. He asks her the reason why she called him in such a hurry, and she asks him to take out the monster dictionary for her since she couldn't reach it. And from that point, Valentin starts referring to himself as her brother, saying that she will need her brother to take the book out for her, and since it was too heavy for her, her brother would carry it for her. Irina is creeped out by his reaction, but thanks to that, she gets him to carry a lot of books to her room. She thanks him for the books and also for the slime he gifted her, and Valentin replies that if she liked it so much, he would catch a bigger slime for her the next time. Irina is flustered as she tells him that just this once was enough, and as he is about to say something in response, a maid enters the room, calling Irina lazy. But she did not notice Valentin there until it was too late, and now he is furious as he asks her how she dare enter the princess's room without knocking. He pins her to the door and asks her how dare she disrespect her master, and as the maid tries to give excuses, he asks her if what he just heard was his imagination. Seeing the reaction of the maid, he is certain that the other maids do it too, and he has no plans to forgive them for their sins. He orders the maid to assemble all the staff, and then he tells Irina to stay in her room while he checks out with the servants. After he leaves, she asks the slime if Valentin cares about his sister more than she thought, and she is having fun just imagining how he will punish the servants for mistreating her. The slime is also excited, and as he rubs against her hand, Irina realizes that calling him slime seems unfair now. Since he is her friend, she decides to name him, and the first thing that comes to mind is moo, because that is the only sound he makes. But she thinks that it is childish and jokes that she would rather name him Softy. The slime tries to tell her something, but she does not understand much of it and decides to name him later since she can't figure out anything right now. Then, she starts reading the monster dictionary and asks the slime to join her to give some important input. The first chapter in the dictionary is about the world's strongest slime, and Irina reads that although slimes were the weakest monsters in the world, sometimes, when the highest level monsters exhausted all their power, they turned into slime. It was also rumored that some slimes eat other organisms and mimic everything they eat, but not many details were known about this. Irina finds nothing helpful about her friend's identity in the book and wonders exactly who he was. But then she asks him if he could tell her his secret if she told him hers. The slime is confused, and as Irina starts telling him about her reality, she hears loud footsteps and quickly hides the slime under her bed. And then Valentin is at her door with the head maid, Roger, who is arrogantly asking him to let her go. He asks his sister what she wants to do with this thief, and Roger says that she was innocent. When Valentin shuts her up, she complains that he was just listening to Irina and misbehaving with her, which was equivalent to rebellion against the Duke. She arrogantly says that if the Duke learns about this, he will never let it slide, and Valentin yanks her closer, telling her that she is living in a misunderstanding. His father was gone now, and he was the owner of this place, and he would listen to his sister and judge her. He asks Irina what the servants have done to her, and she immediately thinks about the poor girl whose body she was in. Roger had said that she would make her daughter Bella the princess, and she did not treat her even like a human. For her, it was a new thing, but for the real Irina, who had a soft heart, it was unspeakable suffering. So she decides to do something for both their sakes. Irina steps up, saying that she is the one who is innocent here. She never got any gifts her brother sent for her, and after taking them all, Roger was calling her a liar. And as Irina says that she was so mean with tears in her eyes, she thinks that this was her first victory for herself and the real princess. As Roger hears her words, she is shocked, as usually Irina is stupid and timid and can't even say a word against her. But right now, the head maid thinks that if she does not make an excuse, she will be punished. So she says that the princess was framing her and that it was unfair to judge her only by listening to her. But Valentin is not going to have any of her excuses, and he slaps her, saying that he will set a proper example through her, and she better be prepared for it. Roger is in disbelief, and she tells him that he will suffer after this. But Valentin does not pay her any attention, and before he takes the culprit to give her the punishment, he asks Irina if she would like any gifts. She is really overjoyed upon hearing about the gift and acts cute as she says that she likes everything her brother gifts her. And Valentin smiles, saying that he will return with something good later. And as he leaves, the happy girl brings out her slime from under the bed and starts talking about her brother with him. She always thought that he was scary and dangerous, but it seems that he cared about her, and such a brother would surely be helpful to her in the future. And now she thinks that she had the wrong impression of Valentin after reading the books and meeting him once. Then, the slime signals her to remind him of the secret she was about to tell him, and she asks him if he will even understand what she is going to say. As he reassures her, Irina tells him that she is not originally from this world, but has possessed the body of a character in a book. She says that if she knew something like this would happen, she would never read a book with a setting like that. And the slime begins to comfort her. She tickles him, asking him why he was so nice, and then snuggles with him, saying that she was really glad that he was by her side. She plays with him, saying that when she gets rich later, she will take good care of him. But the slime seems eager to learn more about the book, and Irina tells him what he is not prepared to listen to. She warns him that it would be hard to explain it to a child, and the slime writes on her palm that he is an adult. She makes fun of him, saying that he can't be older than a child, and then she tells him not to be scared after learning the truth. This was an adult novel with a lot of indecent and steamy scenes. The slime is shocked and asks if Irina was involved in the scenes too, and she shakes her head, saying she was just a minor character who gets caught in a political fight and dies, and he is terrified as he hears about her fate. And then Irina starts fangirling about the relationship of the main characters, talking in detail about how the hero kidnaps the female lead, and then they fall in love and have their happy ending. Irina says that love only tastes its best when it comes after suffering, and the slime has some questions for her. He asks her if she likes kidnapping and confinement, and she replies that most people would. First of all, being confined with the hero would mean she would live in a room much better than this shabby one, and all her needs would be taken care of even if she did not work at all. As she is babbling about her fantasies, she says that it might be too much for her little friend, and the slime reminds her that he is an adult. And then Irina teases him, asking if he was an adult and had he ever kissed anyone, and he turns red with embarrassment. She laughs at him and then plops on her bed, saying that if she were the main character, she would have lived with the Grand Duke of Rusland, and the slime is curious about him. Irina says that he was strong and handsome and could defeat every monster, and the slime is jealous and says that he is also strong, and she bursts into laughter, breaking the delicate heart of the little slime. She tries to console him, saying that he was really cool and even stronger than the Grand Duke she was going to marry. The slime knows nothing about marriage and asks her, to which she replies that marriage means two people will be the closest in the world. The slime immediately begins to imagine being the closest to Irina for their entire lives, and as he runs out of the room with gleaming eyes, she has a bad feeling about it. And as he jumps out of the window, she screams loudly, and one of the knights standing guard hears her. But his partner did not hear anything, and he convinces the first knight that he must be hearing things because he is not getting enough sleep. And now, Irina is hiding next to the window, thinking that she almost got caught. She peeks out, looking for the slime, and finds him in the garden near the flower bed. Her heart is trembling at the thought of him getting caught, so she closes her eyes, but then a fragrant smell fills her room. And as she opens her eyes, the slime comes in through the window with a bouquet of flowers he has made for her. He happily gifts it to her, and when she asks what it was for, He tells her that it was a marriage proposal. Irina jokes around, thanking him for his proposal but turning him down because she has to marry the Grand Duke. The slime is disheartened, and she teases him some more, saying that the Grand Duke Alexei was so strong and charismatic that he could beat any monster. She asks the slime if he can beat such a human to marry her, and he confidently replies that he will win in a fight with him. And even though Irina is dying while laughing inside, she controls herself so she does not laugh in front of the slime. She plays along, saying that he was so cool, and now she wants to marry him, and they should quickly decide on a date. But before marrying, there are things they must do, like hold hands and kiss, and the slime is flustered and wobbly as he hears about kissing. But he gathers his courage and says that he will do it, much to Irina's amusement, who says that she will close her eyes and wait for him. She waits, and as the slime takes his time, she wonders why he is not doing anything, fearing that he may have jumped out to prepare something elaborate again. And as she opens her eyes and moves forward to see if anything is wrong, she runs into the slime, kissing him first instead of waiting for him to reach her. And now, not only is he blushing like crazy, but he is also sad that she reached him first accidentally. He screams loudly and then runs away, crying to hide under the bed. Irina takes this chance to tease him some more, asking him if he was running away in shame after proposing to her first. She gets him out from under the bed, telling him to think of marrying later, when he is as bold and manly as the main lead. Meanwhile, Roger is in prison, and she is furious at Valentin for throwing her in there. She curses him, thinking that the Duke will soon return, and then he will punish everyone who mistreated her. And she thinks that only if the pathetic Irina disappears will her own daughter Bella take the seat of the princess. And then she laughs like a maniac, shouting that her dreams will definitely come true. Now, Irina has named her slime friend Lime, and she is carrying him outside as she is on a walk to meet Valentin. She complains that she was not even allowed to go outside unless her brother called for her, and as she spots him in the distance, she tells Lime to hide well in her pocket. Irina reaches Valentin, and he says that he wants to talk about a lot of important things with her, so she should sit down. And as she sits down on the grass, he stops her and spreads a picnic cloth for them to sit on and eat something from the basket he has brought. As Irina sits down, she thanks her brother, not realizing what he was up to. And Valentin says that he noticed earlier that she was quite skinny, and that is why he has brought a lot of tasty treats for her to eat today. Irina is overjoyed, and she says that only her brother thinks about her, pleasing Valentin, who tells her to eat all these things today. He then says that there are not many days left that they can spend leisurely like this because their father will be back soon. And this time, he was returning with the poison, and thinking of it turns Valentin's mood foul. Irina asks him about the poison, and he says that it was made from the root of a rare flower called Kalinda. The poison did not kill the user immediately but instead caused suffering and pain over a long time before he died a horrible death. And now Irina also remembers everything she read about it. The Kalinda poison was what killed Irina in the original novel. And Valentin says that one of them will have to eat the poison, and he says that if she disobeys her father's order to eat the poison, it will be difficult to keep her alive. She also thinks that it is unavoidable, but at this rate, she is heading to her tragic end like in the original story. It was said that anyone who drank the Kalinda poison every day would have flower petals sprout on their wrist. And when all 5 petals have bloomed on the wrist, the person who has drunk the poison will become a walking Kalinda flower, and their body will exude the same deadly poison before they lose their life. And Irina thinks that the ulterior motive of the Duke Sortier is very clear. He plans to turn his daughter into a walking poison plant, and as soon as that happens, he will marry her to the Grand Duke of Rusland to kill him. It would be the perfect plan and would slowly but surely kill his enemy. Irina is disgusted just thinking about her psychopath father's plan, and she is not going to let him have his way because she knows about the location of the antidote to the poison. The antidote for the Kalinda poison was found in the forest of the dead that surrounded the Grand Duke's residence, and Sortier would have never dreamed of it. As she casually eats a sandwich, Irina says that the poison must be really deadly, and Valentin is surprised as he says that she does not look really scared. Instead, she looks like someone who is waiting to be poisoned. Irina is stunned, and she realizes that her facial expressions gave away what she was thinking and that she needs to take care of them. She acts cute to distract her brother, saying that she was just upset about the poison. And Valentin replies that even if she is waiting to be poisoned, it will not happen because he is going to drink that poison anyway. Irina is shocked, and she replies that she will drink it unconditionally, but her brother grabs her shoulders and shakes her, saying if she drinks that poison, she will die. She cannot tell him that she has a reason why she must drink it and that she will not die from it. She tries to convince Valentin that, unlike a useless person like her, he was an important person, so he should not risk his life. And he is furious as he says that he will not let her get hurt. He is dead set on drinking that poison. And Irina is about to throw hands if he does not back away. As the siblings argue about who will drink the poison, Irina thinks about why she wants it for herself. When one drinks the Kalinda poison regularly, 5 petals appear on the wrist, and by detoxifying it after that stage, the body becomes healthier than anyone else's. The 5 senses get extremely sharp, and the person also gets the divine ability to purify monsters. And this is the reason why Irina cannot give up the chance to obtain such cheat-like powers. And as they are quarreling, a servant comes and tells Valentin that he has something urgent to report to him. And as he gets up, he tells the servant that he will be in his office soon after dropping his sister back to her room. Once she gets back to her room, Irina thinks that it was moronic for siblings to fight over who would drink the poison. And she takes lime out of her pocket as she says that things are getting more and more strange now. But a shock is waiting for her as she finds that Lime had turned into an ugly, green, and shapeless monster who was angry and upset at her. Irina is shocked and asks him if he was feeling unwell, but the furious Slime writes on her hand that he was angry because she was talking about dying. She consoles him, saying that she will be fine, and since he is worried even after that, she kisses him, saying that she knows a few ways to survive. She says that she is not going to die, so he should not be sad. But then she hears loud footsteps coming towards her and hides Lime before anyone can see him. And then Bella comes barging into her room, demanding that she tell her what she did with her mom. She is furious and accuses Irina of lying, saying that she framed and sent her innocent mom to prison. But Irina wonders what she was on if she thought that Roger was innocent, and even though Bella says that she will not forgive her, she acts cold and indifferent to her. But even though the maid girl is furious, she cannot afford to just pick a fight with Irina, and she leaves, saying that she has an urgent matter to take care of since the Duke Sortier has returned. She wants to tell him about everything that Irina did to her mother, while our protagonist calmly thinks about the situation. Then she tells Bella that she was forgetting something important. She was forgetting her duty, which was to escort the princess she served. And this angers Bella even further, and he tells her to quietly follow her down. And as Irina is about to leave her room, she looks back at Lime, who appears quite sad and lonely. She wonders if he will be fine on his own and tells him to hide and wait patiently until she returns. She goes to a family dinner with her father and brother, and despite knowing that he is a villain, she thinks that he looks better than what she had expected. And then, without saying anything else, the Duke tells Valentin to prepare for departure, as they are leaving for the Crow's Forest tomorrow. Irina is shocked to hear this. Her cruel father was sending his only son to the dangerous Crow's Forest right after he had returned from the north, which was also quite dangerous. It was said that coming out alive of the Crow's Forest was very hard. And the reason the Duke was sending Valentin there was to get the demonic treasures to summon the devil, which could be found only by hunting monsters. She thinks that the Duke was so blinded by his greed that he wanted to kill all his children. And as Valentin says that he will start preparing immediately, she wonders why he was obeying him so meekly. The Duke says that he should properly obey him like this if he wants to protect what is precious to him. And then he turns to Irina, saying that the time had come for her to finally prove her worth. He takes out a small vial of Kalinda poison, and Irina is really excited to see it, but she manages to change her facial expressions to conceal her true feelings. She meekly asks him what this is, and before the Duke can give any answer, Valentin slams his palm on the table, asking him to give the poison to him instead. Duke Sortier just stares him down and says that his education must have been lacking if he dared to raise his voice against him. He threatens his son that if he ever does this again, he will ruin the thing he loves the most right before his eyes. And Valentin has no reply to his threats and apologizes even as the Duke pours the vial of poison into a glass of red wine before giving it to Irina, saying that it will make her like a flower. She takes up the glass and looks at it, thinking that she will get sick after drinking it, but it will not be a big deal. She thinks that drinking this poison is the only way she can get her revenge on the person who does not even deserve to be called a father. And seeing her response, the Duke remarks that she looked like she had been waiting to drink it. Irina is startled, but then she acts innocent, saying that it was the Duke's order and she could not go against him. He is pleased, and Irina gulps the poisonous drink down. The taste is not too bad, but the poison starts showing effects immediately, and she feels nauseous as her father gives a cruel smile. And Valentin is just trembling with rage and helplessness. Even Roger and Bella are watching them, and the former thinks that only a few steps are left before the seat of the princess goes to her daughter. Irina feels nauseous and weak as she walks to her room, taking support from the walls. She cannot even see properly and can only guess that her room is nearby. But then Roger suddenly appears in front of her and asks her if she is fine. Irina lies, saying that she was fine just before coughing blood. She tells Roger to let her go to her room as she wants to rest, and the maid opens the door and pushes her in, telling her to rest in peace. And before the cruel woman shuts the door, she warns Irina that her only ally, her brother, will soon leave, and she will be in for a lot of suffering then. As she picks herself up, Irina says that she will definitely survive, and she needs her bed right now. She plops on the bed, and now the poison is hurting her much more than she could imagine. And more than that, what hurts her is that she is all alone in her suffering. But she is quickly proved wrong as Lime pops up next to her, very concerned about her condition. He asks her if she is fine, and she lies to him, saying that she is alright and just needs to sleep. She tells him that if something happens to her, he should hide, and as she closes her eyes, Lime begins to spread his body. As Irina briefly opens her eyes, she finds that her bed is unnaturally soft and wonders what is happening. And as she looks around, she finds that she was sleeping on a giant blob of slime, and Lime was on top of her stomach. He had kept her warm so that she would not fall ill, and as he eagerly looks at her, she thinks that he is like a cute and warm cat. She says that he was the best, and Lime is happy. Irina hugs him, saying that she had him, and that is why she will not be lonely now. The next morning, she wakes up quite refreshed, and even though there is a bit of irritation in her stomach, she thinks that the effects of Kalinda poison were nothing special. She thanks Lime, saying that it would have been much harder without his help, and he is pleased to be complimented. But then she wonders what would happen if the Duke found out about him. Whenever he found out anything Irina was interested in, he either got rid of it or put some distance between them. She thinks that this time will also be no exception, and she must prepare Lime for it. Irina tells him that if anything happens, he should flee to the north. He is confused but says that he won't run away as he has to protect Irina, and she smiles and hugs him, saying that he was really reliable and that she must protect him too. Then she lies on the bed and tells him to listen to her this time. If things ever get dangerous here, he should go north, and she would not be able to come with him at that time. But if he goes north first, she will definitely find him. Lime is in tears as he asks what will happen if he goes, and she is in pain like yesterday. And she replies that she is actually destined to die at the hands of her brainwashed brother. And Lime shows his slime muscles, saying that he will take care of Valentin for her. Irina just smiles and tells him that it won't be easy, and he gets a bit depressed. But then, with tears in his eyes, he takes her hand and tells her that if they do not see each other for a long time, she must always remember that he is waiting for her. Irina thinks that he is so nice and hugs her gently, saying that they should live together for a long time. Meanwhile, Duke Sortier is getting briefed about what happened when he was not on the estate. He learns that there has been no movement from the side of the Grand Duke of Ruslan, and no one has been able to meet him. And now Sortier says that it has not been long since Alexei became the Grand Duke and wonders what he could be doing by hiding in his castle like a rat. He thinks that there is clearly something wrong with Alexei, either in body or in mind. And the attendant tells him that there must be something wrong since the Grand Duke is holed up in his castle. Sortier asks if he is sure about this part, and the attendant replies that the maid that they planted in the Grand Duke's castle reported that she saw him from a distance. But Sortier is still doubtful and tells him to get it checked more closely. Then he turns his attention to Valentin, asking him how long he thinks the expedition will take, and he replies that it will take 2 weeks. But as Sortier thinks for a while, he lifts a small blue bottle, saying that he will give him 1 week. The small bottle contains the neutralizer for Kalinda poison, and how it will be used depends on Valentin's performance. The young man is startled as Sortier continues with his monologue, asking him if he remembered how his mother died. And Valentin remembers the tragic last moments of his mother, who was vomiting blood, even though she was telling him that she was fine. And now, so that his sister does not suffer the same fate, he has no choice but to obey his human garbage father. And as Valentin leaves, the Duke calls him stupid and weak, just like his mother, saying that he was supposed to be the successor, but he was so weak-willed. And now that there is no one he despises in the room, he wants to learn what happened to Irina and Valentin while he was gone. First, the tutor of Valentin says that the young Duke was about to become a sword master very soon, but he lacked academic knowledge because of frequent military missions, and he promises to make up for that as best as he can. But Sortier tells him to let it be, saying that hounds are stupider. The tutor cannot reply to that, and the Duke moves on to the report about Irina. First, he reads a report that the princess went to the library, and then he learns from the butler that she learned about monsters from the book. And before that, she had taken a class about the same topic. The Duke thinks it is strange that Irina would go to the library to learn more about what she has already studied. He remembers that she always cried and trembled in fear, saying that she did not know anything, no matter what he taught her. And he thinks that unless she has been influenced by someone or was hiding something, this should not have been possible. Sortier orders the butler to tighten the surveillance around Irina's room and then tells Roger to lock the doors to her tower tonight. And then the head maid smirks, saying that she will do her best to fulfill his order. That night, Irina sees a dream in which her reflection looks just like the female lead of the novel, Kay. Kay is healing the wounds of the injured Alexei, and as she is finished dressing the wounds, she leaves, only for the Grand Duke to pull her towards him and pin her on the bed. She wants him to let her go, but he replies that if he lets her go now, she will run away again. But as she opens her eyes, Irina is back in her room as the pitiful side character again. But there is a magic circle under her bed, and as she gets up, complaining that she got cut off at the most exciting part, there is a monster behind her, and she realizes it when something drips into her hand, a dark green and foul-smelling saliva. Irina immediately recognized what was going to happen, but before she has the chance to do anything, the monster pounces on her, strangling her with all his might. She knows the monster called Dreamer that was sent by her villainous father to hurt her and tame her through fear. She tries to push the monster away, but just touching him scalds her skin, and she realizes that it was more real than she thought. But she decides to let it do its thing and endure it, because no matter what it was, the Dreamer was just a monster inside her dream. It would soon be over when she woke up, and even though she is determined to hold out, she thinks it is not going to be easy. The Dreamer tightens his grip around her, and she gives into fear and pain and begs someone to help her. And at that exact moment, with a bright light, Lime comes to her rescue. He is wielding a small, glowing sword and jumps up at the monster to save Irina. But his full power attack has no impact on the Dreamer, who flicks him away. Seeing Lime injured, Irina cries, saying that she was fine and that he should run away. In the moment she is worried about him, the grip of the Dreamer loosens, and she gets up, only to be pressed down by the monster while the slime stands up again. He attacks the monster again and again, and although there is no effect from his tiny sword, at last it glows very brightly, and the monster burns down into nothingness. After defeating the monster, Lime falls down, and Irina catches him, asking him if he was hurt. He replies that it hurt badly, but even if he was injured, he would always save her. The next morning, Irina wakes up and suddenly panics as she remembers her dream and Lime getting injured. She looks for him, but he is by her side on the bed and smiles as he greets her. Irina is also relieved to see him and says that last night she had a bad dream where something terrible happened to him. But then she notices a small wound under Lime's eye, in the same place he got injured in the dream. And as she picks him up with trembling hands, she wonders if the dream was real. She is upset that he got hurt because of her and calls him an idiot, telling him to run away since he sensed danger. She is sad that because of her, he has a wound on his small body. But Lime is even more upset than her. He writes on her hand that he is sorry for making her feel bad. He apologizes for being too weak to protect her and promises to become stronger. And now, Irina thinks that just because she said she likes strong men like the Grand Duke, Lime had taken it to heart and was trying to become strong. She asks him if he was stupid to say things like that, and he is feeling very bad. But then she hugs him, saying that he was very strong. She says that he was strong and brave, and the way he saved her in the dream was very cool. As she thanks him, the slime is moved, and then Irina says that he is her ideal type, and he starts blushing. And then he collapses after hearing such a big compliment from her that meant a lot to him, and Irina is worried if anything is wrong with him. Meanwhile, the villainous Duke is surprised that the Dreamer died sooner than he thought. Looking at the candle used to summon him, it was easy to say that a lot of seconds were left before he should have died. He says that even though he summoned just a low-class Dreamer, it was still too fast. There was no way that a weak-willed and timid girl like Irina could escape from the Dreamer on her own. And Sortier is certain that there was someone in the castle who was helping her. He crushes a rose as he tells his attendant to find out who the idiot was hiding in the tower and helping her. And once he is found, the soldiers should kill him immediately. As the servants leave, Sortier starts thinking about the possible reasons why the Dreamer died so quickly. He is certain that someone helped Irina, but if she did not receive help, maybe her divine powers were finally blooming just like her mother's. To have a child with divine power, Sortier dragged away a priestess and made her his wife. But all he got was a son without a shred of divine power, and he considered him a failure. Therefore, he did not care about the useless son and sent him to monster subjugation at a very young age. And even when Valentin's mother opposed him, stating the obvious, the evil Duke shut her down, saying that if he had inherited divine power, he would already be fighting on the front lines. Sortier even blamed her for their son not inheriting her power, and then said that after all this, she came here screaming like a shameless brute. His wife was furious and said that he was the brute here, and he slapped her, telling her that she still does not understand her position. She lost her parents because she disobeyed her order, and even after that, she had not learned her lesson. He told her to think carefully about how she behaves if she wants to protect the ones she loves. And the poor woman was left alone and helpless. And now, as Sortier sits alone in his office, he is determined that no one can stop his plans. Meanwhile, Irina is trying something new, and now she regrets that she chose something boring and tiresome. She was learning embroidery, but since she was getting nothing out of it, she got bored and yawned, and Bella taunted her, saying that she was really not like a lady and instructs her to cover her mouth while yawning. Irina is annoyed and asks Bella why she was here, and the girl clearly replies that the Duke had told her to keep an eye on the princess. Irina tells her that there is nothing to watch here, so she should go to her room, and Bella replies that even if there is nothing to watch, it was an order. And besides that, she was teaching her to be ladylike by teaching embroidery. At first, Irina thinks that Bella was just being haughty, but then she looks at her art piece and exclaims, "How was she so good?" And Bella proudly says that she was taking lady lessons from Roger, only for the disgruntled Irina to think about her pitiful situation despite being the real princess. And then Bella changes the topic, saying that she heard Irina talk to someone at night, and the latter is absolutely shocked and afraid now, as is Lime. Her voice trembles as she tries to refute what Bella was saying, but she has already gotten a hint about the truth from that. She tells Irina that if she was planning anything suspicious, she should stop right away because it would be found out, and Valentin was going to leave soon, and if the truth was revealed after that, things would not be good for her. Irina gets a little angry now after Bella just tried to threaten her, but then Valentin enters her room, and the maid girl freaks out. She is terrified, and as Irina wonders what happened to her, she turns around to find her brother, who was staring at Bella. He had heard everything, and he asked her to tell him what would happen to his sister when he left. Bella gets up, terrified, and says that nothing will happen as she runs out of the room. But Valentin stops her and orders her to bring some tea, which the two siblings drink as he tells Irina that he is going to depart for the Crow's Forest tonight. Both Irina and Valentin are sad, but then she tells him to have a safe trip and return home safely. At that moment, Valentin sees the image of their mother and his sister, and he promises her that he will return home without getting hurt. Now, our protagonist thinks that he has gotten attached to her, and for some reason, she feels sorry for him. But then she wonders why he is sitting so anxiously, like he has something to say. And then he points to the handkerchief she was embroidering and asks what it was. Irina picks it up and says that she made it as a gift, and now Valentin's heart is beating rapidly as he asks for whom this gift was intended. And Irina smiles, saying that it was for none other than their favorite slime. As she says that, Lime comes out from under her bed, but Valentin has turned to stone upon hearing the news. Irina picks up the slime, and as she holds the handkerchief against him, both of them giggle as Irina says that White really looked good on him. But disturbing their merry moment, Valentin gets up, confirming that Irina was going to give that gift to her slime. He is furious and says that they are done talking, and as he rapidly walks out of the room, he bashes his head against the door without noticing it. Irina realizes that his mental condition suddenly seemed much worse, and then she remembers that in this world, knights who are about to go to war are gifted handkerchiefs by their loved ones for good luck. She wonders if her brother really wants the handkerchief she gave him. She cannot change the owner now, so she decides to give him another piece that was lying idle in her drawer. Irina stops Valentin. He eagerly awaits what she has to say, and she rummages around her bedside drawer, looking for a handkerchief with a pattern embroidered on it. She finds the one with the design of two dreamers and a snake in between them, and after dusting it, she gifts it to her brother. She says that she was giving it to him so that he returns safely, and even though his face does not show much, Valentin is really happy to receive a gift. Irina asks him if he liked the gift, and he says that it was just fine before carefully folding and placing it in his pocket. But before he leaves, she has a question for him. Irina asks him where he got lime from, and he replies that he got it near the Celtic river that was around the Bars Plain. Irina has read that it is a dangerous place since monster gates often appear there with high-level monsters. She is lost in thought, and Valentin asks her if she wants to know more about the slime, and her eyes lit up as she says that lime was not like other slime. Now, as he thinks about it, Valentin stares at the slime, saying that he will investigate it. And it seems neither he nor Lime like each other. Irina asks him how he would find out, and he replies that he was going to give the slime a stab since he had plenty of time before departing. She is startled by the answer, and he changes his statement to say that he will just observe it. Irina finds it hard to believe him, and she thinks that today she has a class about monsters and she cannot take Lime with her. But she cannot even leave him alone in the room, as if a maid finds him, she will definitely squish him. So in the current situation, her only solution was to rely on her brother, but he does not seem the type to care about just anyone. Irina tells him that if he bullies Lime, he will be in big trouble. She will hate him with all her heart. Those words are a serious blow to Valentin, who immediately becomes docile and obedient. And as our protagonist hands the slime over, he does not want to leave her side. She tells the two men that while she was attending the monster class, they both should not fight. And before Valentin can tell her that there is nothing like a monster class, she says that she is getting late and runs away. Now, as Valentin and Lime stare at each other, the former thinks that he does not like the small monster. But since Irina was so curious about him, he would devote his time to finding out more about him. He starts with the place they met, around the Celtic River near the Barths Plains, where his father had dispatched him. And when he found it, he was just ordinary slime that had no mouth or eyes. Then Lime jumps out of his hand, and Valentin tells him that if he was trying to run, he should forget it. Irina had told him to find out more about him, and he was going to figure out his true identity. But the slime ignores him, and now Valentin wonders if he really has intelligence because he could understand everything his sister said just fine. And the low-level monster being intelligent was not the only thing that surprised him. Lime was found near the Celtic River, where the powerful monsters are found in large numbers. And then, Valentin has a hunch that the slime could use mental magic, because that explains how he understands human speech. But a slime was too weak to use magic. He then decides that it does not matter if he is intelligent or not, or if he can sprout eyes and a mouth. The most important part was that he could make Irina smile, and bring joy to the poor girl, who has lived like a lifeless doll captured inside the tower. But the current Irina was different. She was cheerful and more confident, and he thinks that the slime's friendship may have played some role in that. Valentin sees nothing suspicious right now, and he feels the need to observe the slime for a bit longer. So he looks around the room for a place to sit, only to find that it was too dirty and shabby. He is furious, thinking that what was the maid doing if there were spider webs in Irina's room. He wants to re-educate them, and as he arranges the books on the desk, a small piece of paper slips out. On that is written a marriage proposal, and it does not seem like Irina's handwriting. Valentin is confused, and then Lime raises his hand, telling him that he wrote it. The slime is happy, but the protagonist's brother is furious as he asks the slime what it was. He says that how can a monster write human language? And that is the smallest of his worries right now. What he is most concerned about is how dare a slime think he could marry Irina. But Lime is confident in his stance, and Valentin is even more furious now and says that he will never allow it until dirt gets in his eyes. Lime takes this chance and seizes it, looking around for dirt, which he finds on Valentin's shoes. As he rushes towards them, the latter picks him up, asking him if he was thinking of throwing the dirt from his shoes into his shoes. He is furious, but then he calms down to tell the slime that he could not marry his sister anyway. It was decided that she was going to marry the Grand Duke, and it did not matter what she wanted. The slime is upset, and as Valentin asks him if he could defeat such a powerful man to marry Irina, he gets even more depressed. He then tells the slime that it is going to be hard for him to marry a human, but it should not matter as he could just tag along with her as a pet. Lime jumps out of his hand as Valentin thinks that when he inherits his father's title later, he will give more support to the people who decide to stay single. Meanwhile, Lime has found another slip of paper and a pen, and he writes a note to tell Valentin that he will not let anyone else marry Irina. And then Valentin explains that to be an ideal husband candidate, he should appear confident and charming, but he was just soft and weak and thus unfit to be a husband. He thinks that the slime will give up after hearing this, but instead, he shapes himself as a block in order to not look so soft. Then Valentin tells him that no matter how tough he becomes, he will also have to be intelligent to marry Irina, and he should also be a swordsman comparable to the Grand Duke. He must also be full of etiquette and know how to dance. And more important than all these things, he should be able to save Irina from her cruel father. And Lime confidently says that he will do everything that was just said to him. A little later, Irina returns to her room after an exhausting lesson, and she wonders if her brother and friend fought with each other. But she is shocked when she finds her brother holding Lime, who has turned into a block, and she asks them what was going on. Valentin replies that the slime was very cheeky and arrogant, and for a monster of his level, he had great ambition. Irina is confused about what he is saying and asks him if he found out anything about the slime. To which Valentin replies that he did not have enough time to study him, but he will ask the knights more about this. But now he has to go back to prepare for his departure at night, and as he leaves, he tells Irina to look after herself and her slime. After her brother has left, Irina tells Lime to return to his normal self, but he is feeling a little too good in his new blocky form. But she says that she was planning to give the handkerchief to the soft slime, and he immediately reverts to his original shape. And then she places him on the table and ties it around him like a cape. And Lime is too happy. Irina wants to tell him something else too. But before she has the chance to do so, Lime sips from her cup of tea. And now she panics, shaking him as she says that he should not eat human food. She shakes him hard so that he will spit out what he just drank, but instead of having the desired effect, the slime just makes him dizzy. Now Irina is worried about him and wonders if what she read in the monster dictionary was wrong. Lime is still reeling from the shock, and as she tries to comfort him, Roger is outside her door, listening in on her conversation with the slime. The next day, Irina goes to the library to find out more about slime behavior and only finds what she already knows, like that slimes cannot use magic because they do not know letters. But she thinks that Lime definitely used magic to defeat the dreamer, and she wonders if he really is a slime or another monster similar to it. As she sighs, thinking that she should look for another book, Roger suddenly appears behind her. Irina is startled and thinks that the head maid was really like a ghost. She tells the princess that reading was limited to once a week, and our protagonist replies that it was her first time being this week. With that, she leaves to see other books while the head maid is looking at her, but she is doing more than just keeping an eye on her, she is tailing her closely. And then she tells Irina that it was time to eat, so they should leave, and the girl asks her since when did she become so caring about her. The maid tries to pretend like nothing is wrong, and Irina thinks that she would normally be very angry about this response. But today she was rather anxious. Our protagonist thinks that now that Valentin has left, there is no one to help her in the mansion. But then she suddenly remembers that she was underestimating Lime, who was always by her side. She confidently goes to the dining room, where she enjoys a decent meal after a very long time, and says that having desserts would be the ultimate feeling. And as soon as he hears this, Lime jumps out of her pocket to make her wishes come true. She tries to stop him, but by then, he is already out of her sight, and before she can follow him, another maid comes and starts talking to her. Irina hopes that Lime does not get caught, and he is hiding well behind the curtains in the kitchen as he hears Roger talking with a maid. They are planning something, and the head maid thinks that it was a good thing that Bella was asleep right now, as she would not be aware of this. She then instructs a maid to put something in Irina's room before she returns. Roger explains that the crystal ball and the small artifact were hard to find video recording equipment, and using this, she would find evidence against the princess. The head maid thinks that Irina is bringing a man into her bedroom every night because she has mistaken her conversation with the slime for being with another man. And now Roger laughs, saying that as long as they have evidence against the girl, the Duke is bound to take action. He will throw her out for bringing shame to their family and make Bella the princess in her stead. The other maid is also impressed, and she reads the instructions to activate the recording crystal ball, and Lime peeks at them to find out what exactly they are doing. He reaches a high shelf and sees the entire procedure the maids followed to activate the magic tool. The next day, Roger and her co-conspirator maid visit Irina's room to collect proof while she is still in the library, and the head maid goes into the room while the other maid keeps an eye out for the girl. As Roger enters the room, she combs it for any sign of any man being there, but she does not find even a single hair, so the only thing she can trust is the recording device that has been stuck in her room. She takes out the recorder before she notices the book about northern monsters on the desk and thinks that the girl was meeting a knight from the monster subjugation team. And as she smiles to herself, thinking that she finally has evidence, Irina comes into the room and takes her by surprise. Roger says that she was just cleaning the room, and Irina tells her that if she is done, she should get out. Outside, the head maid is furious that she was kicked out like this, and the other maid apologizes that she could not keep the girl away. But that does not matter because she has collected the recorder, and she plays the audio to find Irina talking with someone. Only her voice could be heard. But in the eyes of the maid and the Duke, this would be enough evidence to prove her guilty. And since it was the day to report to the Duke, Roger is really happy. As they are talking outside, Lime is listening to them through the door, and Irina notices that Roger has cleaned nothing at all. She is angry and suspicious, but then Lime jumps on the table and strains as he vomits a crystal ball that is as large as him. Irina is stunned and asks him if he threw up, only for the shocked slime to tell her about the video tool that was being used by the wicked humans to spy on her and get revenge, and that he stole it. and then he touches the crystal and uses magic to show what was happening at the Duke's office by hijacking the other recording device. Roger, along with other servants, was there to report their weekly findings to the Duke, and the first one is the etiquette teacher, who says that Irina's manners are perfect now and she has become quite ladylike. And the Duke is pleased, thinking that now he could marry her off just after her coming-of-age ceremony. But then Roger interrupts him and says that she has an urgent matter to report, and as Sortier gives her permission, she says that Irina seemed to be bringing a man to her bedroom. The Duke is surprised, and Roger says that she has proof of recorded audio and shows it to him, and he asks her to play it in front of everyone. Thanks to Lime's magic, Irina can see it all, and she is furious at the maids, who did not stop at stealing and are now even spying on her. She thinks they crossed the line this time, but then she realizes that Lime must have enough magic and knowledge of the magic tool to utilize it, and she wonders how that could be possible. But before she can get an answer out of him, the drama in the Duke's office begins. Roger is panicking as she says that this cannot happen. She confirmed the recorded voice with her 2 ears, but now it is gone. Sortier asks her why he could not hear anything and asks the maid if she interrupted him for nothing. And as Roger kneels before him, she says that there must be something wrong with the recording tool and wants to check it with other maids. But the Duke is not in the mood to waste time and asks her if she could prove it right now. He says that it does not matter if it was a knight, a monster, or an insect. If she could find it, he would believe her. Then the Duke calls the head maid Rosa, saying this was her last chance to go and find out what the girl was hiding in her room. And the trembling maid says that she will raid Irina's room and definitely find out something. And then Sortier crushes the recording tool while telling her to find something quickly because he was not particularly patient. With that, the video broadcast stops, and now Irina is worried because the maids were going to come to her room soon. She puts Lime in her pocket and tells him not to come out until she tells him to. After that, she throws the crystal ball outside to erase any proof of spying on the Duke, and as she waits for chaos to unfold, the maids barge into her room and take her to the dungeons under the tower like a criminal. Irina shouts at them that she could walk on her feet and they did not need to drag her, but they have reached the prison, and the maids throw her in. And as they close the door behind her, Irina takes Lime out of her pocket and asks him if he was alright. He was furious and upset, but then she reminded him of what she said before about running away to the north if there was ever a dangerous situation. Irina says that he should leave for the Choco Forest in the north right now, and he will find a cabin there that would be a good hideout for him. He is teary-eyed, but she says that this night was his best chance and puts him on the tall window, saying that she would be fine by herself. She tells him to hurry and he jumps out. Now, Irina is glad that Lime escaped safely, but she forgot to give him his handkerchief in a hurry. But as she is relieved that he is safe, he returns with the crystal ball she just threw out and a bag of bread. She is thankful, but immediately realizes that he is back in danger once again. Realizing that she could not persuade him to leave, Irina accepts her fate and starts eating the bread. Then she asks Lime if he knew how to use the mobility magic that could teleport a person to another location if they knew the coordinates. But he has no idea about that, and now she is even more hopeless. Then she takes a rest against the door and says that there is no way to escape, so she decides to eat first and cheer up. But as she is eating, Irina hears people talking outside about selling information about the duchy to the Baron of Pollen, who had not given them money for the latest information because he deemed it useless. Irina is shocked, but she finds a solution to her problem in this. She thinks she can use the crystal to record the conversation and use it to get out of prison. And as the two people keep talking about how risky selling information to Baron Pollen was, Irina has recorded everything she needs. And the next morning, she is full of confidence as she says that it is time to get out of here. With this, the video ends. Tell us what you think about it in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like. Also, subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.